Perfect, perfect. So this is the 26th of October, uh, 2025, having the weekly review um, for this week to see what exactly we do have in regards to the market. We're going to be covering a few assets and yeah, starting from crypto. Just allow me to share the screen. We're going to be starting from on BTC, covering just a full overview on what exactly we do have starting from the yearly, moving to the lower time frame. I mean, as for now, clearly things are still in the normal. Just allow me a second. So, yeah. So just looking at BTC in regards to the yearly uh, pivot, yearly and quarterly, I would say pivot levels, just to see what exactly the price can do in the coming few days. Take into consideration, I'm going to be covering it for you, by the way, in multiple ways, so you can see where exactly we are standing and what exactly we do have. Um, so this is fine. Yeah, cool. So let's go on a lower time frame, see exactly we are or what exactly we had. BTC in general, it's still just moving like literally in a range. That's the kind of range that you do have it. And if you will take it, like let's say with a little bit of salt, extra salt, you can really look at BTC that is still it's in a range of the 93 all the way, like let's say to the 125, which what exactly we printed for this year. Now the thing that what exactly we saw in the last few days, the drops toward like let's say the 105, another drop to 105. This was the liquidation. Then we got like let's say another move to the downside. And we started seeing on the 3 days time frame what was really looking interesting that we didn't really lose anything from the previous month. And that's why exactly the price, it's still like some in some kind of a range relying on the previous month and the previous quarter. So if you want to take the range, you need to take it from 105 all the way to 124, but you do have like 120, 114, I would say, as the mid of the range, which is it's coming from the quarterly. Now, interestingly, if you're going to be looking at the monthly time frame, you can do this, like BTC really is not doing anything. It's just in a range sideways. So there is really nothing like, let's say, for you to be extremely bullish or extremely bearish. That's the whole thing. If you will be thinking about it, that's just like a normal range that we do have it on BTC. Now, what I care about the most, instead of looking at the 1 week time frame, I'll be looking at the 2 weeks time frame. And you can see we saw a decent amount of sellers, where exactly, by the way, we closed these 2 weeks in let's say mid of October. Now we're going to be closing another 2 weeks candle. But you can see that this candle shows that you don't have really a clear decision between, like, let's say, sellers, between buyers, like both of them, and you close just like a balanced candle. So you didn't really have a decision to move to the downside or to move to the upper side. And this is where exactly the last few days, and also like let's say for the whole previous week, I was just like telling you that just don't be too bearish, don't be too bullish. And yeah, that's literally what we are doing here. Like we're not really getting like let's say too much of a price action. But if I would be looking at something, and that's the way how exactly we are looking at it, like let's say within this week, and we can move like let's say to a different chart a little bit. BTC for me, it's giving me like let's say two things. One of them is this as a level, like let's say as a range, and that's an absolute clear range for us. Last week, the 107,300, it was the pivot level, expecting the price to run to the 113,500. We ran it the first time, we ran it the second time. So in fact, BTC really didn't do anything different than what exactly happened, like let's say all last week. Now, of what I care about is where exactly the price now is trading, and you can see that like we started getting some kind of an acceptance above the 113,500 with this closing of the 4 hours time frame. Will we sustain? Will we see a little bit of a pullback early into the weekly open, and then after that a continuation to come to take the highs? It's very possible, because I think in a way or another that we're going to be looking for BTC, or you need to look at BTC to be trading in this kind of range that you do have, like literally the 102 all the way to 122. We might run it multiple times between up and down. We could do something like this in the coming few days uh, on BTC before moving, like let's say to higher levels. It's very possible. We can also push even a little bit higher before getting some kind of a pullback. For me, would that be something optimal to see it? That it's gonna take, like let's say, some kind of 2 to 3 weeks, into November, to get some kind of a moves up and down on BTC till they're gonna resolve this range fully. It's very possible, but I don't want, like let's say, to rely just on this. So we're gonna be flowing on what exactly the price is giving us, because as I told you, looking at the 2 weeks time frame, you really don't have anything bearish to be bearish about. It's just like a normal range that you are forming it. If you're gonna be looking at it just like literally in this way, that's BTC range. Is still consolidating. Could it be, does it mean that every single consolidation has to break to the upper side? Absolutely no. You can come retrace to lower levels, it's fine. But the way how you would be looking at it, well, if I'm not gonna be like the area that you had really a major resistance for it, like let's say on a weekly closing, it's just like this area of a range that you had a big problem, like let's say to close the weekly candles above it. You can see we traded a little bit above, then we rejected. We traded, we couldn't actually close above it, then you rejected, started closing above it. You lost it for a little bit, then immediate reclaim. For now, that's what exactly is happening on BTC. And that's why for me, if I'm not going to see any closing of a 2 weekly candles, I would say 1 weekly candle could be a fake out, but it's going to be like alarming candle if we're going to be seeing, like, let's say, a weekly closing under this level. And that time, yeah, you open the way, like let's say, to the downside. But as long as that's not happening, then really there is nothing, like let's say, for us to be like extremely bearish about it. It's just like a normal range, and you're not really getting anything other than these things. So for me, yeah, it's absolutely normal. Like let's say, looking at BTC on a high time frame, it's still looking absolutely fine for me. We don't have really a lot, like let's say, to talk about it here, other than these levels, and other than these ranges. Now, most probably you're going to be running the 116 116,000. Most probably you're going to be seeing these levels, like let's say that BTC is going to trade toward it. I don't know after that if we're going to be getting the pullback. We will see how exactly the week it's going to start. But that's a kind of a range that for now you do have it on BTC. Looking at a smaller range, it's coming from the 109,700 all the way to 116, with a potential of trading to 118,640. So that's a kind of movements that I'm looking at it. So we can get something like this within this week, and then after that start seeing a pullback. I don't know where exactly you're going to be getting a pullback toward, but you can start seeing something like this. Remember that you are at the last 5 days of the month, or 6 days of the month. The closing of the monthly candle is going to be on Friday. That's extremely interesting. So for now, the way how exactly the monthly candle is looking, it's still also looking as a normal, I would say, balanced candle, that there is really no decision in this candle, which is the same of what exactly happened, by the way, 2 weeks ago. And when you do have, like, let's say, an indecision candle, that next month could bring us, like, let's say, some nice opportunities when it's coming, like, let's say, to moves to the upper side or the downside. Next monthly candle, if we will end up, like, let's say, by having a balanced candle or indecision candle, that you might come take the lows, or even take the highs, then take the lows, and then you will see what exactly is going on from here. Something I spoke about it earlier, this previous week, that the way how exactly BTC traded this year in general, you didn't really have a major move away from the yearly open. The yearly open is coming at around the 93K. I'm really sorry, I'm not really sure what's exactly happening with the trading view, but I'm just going to give it a few seconds till it's going to load again. So the point from here, like let's say with what exactly we are talking about, BTC really didn't trade that much away from the yearly open. Your yearly open is coming at around these levels, so 93K, something like this. Like we traded 35% to the upper side, another like let's say 20 to 22% to the downside. That's the only thing that you get it from BTC. So it's possible that BTC might not give you like let's say a major move this year. Could be like a scenario where you might see like let's say a bigger move into next year. It's very possible, but still we do have like something around 2 months for closing, like let's say the yearly candle. Usually, I know that the last quarter could be active, but at the same time, it's just like maybe just like you don't put too much thoughts, like let's say about going into an extreme bullish or an extreme bearish. Now, for me, to be honest with you, reaching these levels, um, I'm just sticking to the idea of BTC or trading BTC, like let's say more on a weekly time frame without looking for the high time frame. We do have definitely the potential, like let's say, to go lower or to go higher. It's very possible. Um, the optimal scenario for me, it doesn't mean that it has to happen, is to come and to trade around these highs, then maybe a little bit of a pullback. You could push even a little bit higher. You can come to take the highs because for me, these highs are just like, poor highs. And then after that, I would like really BTC to trade somewhere around these levels in the coming few days, maybe in November. And just from here to start running, like let's say to the upper side, that would be optimal. I would see it a little bit low probability for BTC to start trading really to higher and to start leaving the range without taking one of these lows or maybe even both of them. So at least I would be looking to take one of these levels. Could be this one. I'm gonna feel much better. I'm much more comfortable, to be honest with you, before considering, some kind of major moves to happen to the upper side and to start rallying from here. That will be optimal for me to see this on BTC. It doesn't mean that it has to happen, but that's a kind of direction that I would look at on BTC. There is a little bit of a decouple of what exactly Nasdaq and the S&P is doing and what exactly BTC is doing. Could you, like, let's say, look at it as it's like a major decouple? Well, if we're going to be looking at the monthly candle, BTC in general, sorry, on the yearly candle, BTC in general moved in an average of a 70%. That's good. That's nice. It's not as how exactly they use, like, let's say, to see these major moves on 7x, 9x, 10x, like, let's say, on BTC. That's absolutely normal to start seeing, these low percentages on BTC, especially, like, let's say, with the ETF and also the institutions getting involved. Now, for the Nasdaq and the S&P, we do have like a yearly candle that it's looking bullish for now. So you would be expecting naturally if you will be closing such a yearly candle, which is again, you still have another um, 2 months, like let's say, to close this yearly candle, but you'll be expecting to see higher levels. From the area where exactly we had the last highs on Nasdaq, I mean, Nasdaq really didn't expand that much. It's in an average of a 15 to 20%. That's absolutely normal. So for me, is there a potential, like let's say, to see higher levels on Nasdaq? Very possible, but I would be extremely not worried. I wouldn't be just like looking at it just like to be extremely worried, but I would just like see a potential of a pullback that it might happen on Nasdaq just because of the way how exactly the price is moving in an uptrend. Now, looking at the macros and these kind of things, it's not something like, let's say, that I do pay too much attention to it. But I think it's worth just keeping an eye on it from time to time to understand like really what's going on. So the thing that we are trading at all-time high, we do have some things that it's also like, let's say that in the economy that it's not in a full sync, I would say. It is a little bit of a concern on a macro level, but by the end, the chart is the chart. So I don't want really like, let's say, to bother you too much with these kind of things. But for now, as we already like, let's say, started to open like, let's say, higher levels, then it's fine. I would be expecting like somehow to see Nasdaq. This is, by the way, sorry, Nikki. Sorry, this is Nikki. That's on Nasdaq. My bad. But as long as we are on Nikki, then it's fine. I mean, everything that I spoke about it's my bad. I just like thought that I put Nasdaq, but you're gonna see that Nasdaq, S&P, and Nikkei, all of them, they are just like moving literally in almost the same direction. You will see that almost the three of them, they are doing the same. Now, my point here, going on Nikkei, as we already started, like let's say trading above these highs, you could see Nikki again trading above this and toward this and toward this. By the way, for last week when I covered for you Nikki, I was talking about like Nikki trading toward this area and toward this area again. We didn't really reach this level. I think we might see it like let's say into the open and also into this week. So this is like the kind of move that I would like really to see Nikki trading it. Keep in your mind with the volatility that you might see it, like let's say this coming week, there is still a decent probability that you might see something like this on Nikki before moving to the upper side. So you come and you repeat this level before continuing to the upper side. Could they do, by the way, this and then come back to this area and then move to the upper side? It's very possible. Okay. So I would prefer definitely to see, like, let's say, a move to the upper side, but still, it's on the table to come and to sweep this area and these levels on the 48,800. Now, moving to NASDAQ, just to show you, like, let's say that we are almost at the same exact kind of price action, trading at also all-time high into new highs where exactly the last Friday we traded and we broke, like, let's say, the previous all-time high. Uh, Hopefully trading view is not going to keep like, so you can see it's almost the same kind of candles and the price action that you do have it, like let's say combined Nasdaq, Nikkei, and the S&P. With the way how exactly we started or we closed this daily candle, it is, I would say, I would prefer from the open to see, like let's say, higher levels and Nasdaq maybe this week to trade this high and this high. But still, there is a decent probability that you might see Nasdaq running these lows and coming to the 25 to 3-1 level before continuing to the upper side and maybe running this and running this. There is still a decent probability. Now the point from all of this and why exactly I'm talking to you about, like let's say these things, we are trading at all-time high. Definitely we are opening a range after a range. If you will be looking at the weekly candles, especially like let's say on Nasdaq, it's a clear uptrend. So we are moving smoothly, move up, retrace, move up, retrace, move up, retrace, but we didn't get major pullbacks. That's, I would say, the concern that I do have it on Nasdaq. But by the end, as long as it's just like moving to the upper side, you don't want like really to be blindly shorting. The move to the upper side on the daily basis, as for now, you are holding a momentum on a daily basis, you are holding a momentum on a weekly basis. This was an attempt where exactly I covered it for you previously in just like looking for Nasdaq to give us this kind of a pullback. I was expecting lower levels before moving to the upper side, but that's the whole thing. When you close, you reclaim and you just keep holding this level, then you prefer to see higher levels. And that was the plan literally for next week, is just to see Nasdaq running these highs. S&P is following Nasdaq like 1-to-1. So it's not going to be different at all. Now, same thing on the S&P. Nothing really is different. Hopefully, we're going to get the lines. The trading view, it's not going to keep lagging. I might be in a need to restart it one more time before continuing the other assets that we're going to be covering them, which is I do prefer honestly to do it so I don't keep you waiting till it's gonna. Well, I don't know. I think something is happening with the trading view, unfortunately, that it keeps lagging from time to time. I mean, it's not that major problem, but it keeps lagging sometimes. So hopefully it gets better now. Yeah. All right. It looks like it's better. So that's for now that we do have it on the S&P. Um, with this closing above these levels, then you would be looking like, let's say, for the S&P mainly to run these highs. Again, with the volatility still, this kind of price action is on the table, all right? So don't rely on it, like let's say, to happen as just like, some kind of confirmation, or just like it's confirmed that we're supposed to run, like let's say, blindly to the upper side. No, there is, by the way, still one of one of the things that you need really to factor it into this move that we do have it here, that the S&P might move to the upper side, then give you really a decent pullback before running, like let's say to higher levels. This could be something that you have to keep an eye on it, that, you know, every single time you are reaching these levels, you might get pullbacks from it. Okay. So keep that in your mind, same that you're going to be applying it on Nasdaq. I will be covering for you once we're gonna unfold, like let's say Asia tomorrow. I will be covering for you the plan for the week. It's gonna give us like let's say a better visibility on what could we have. Um, Looking on gold, I know everyone is looking for gold to continue, just like let's say dropping to the downside. Is there a probability and a decent, like let's say, a decent probability for gold, like let's say to run to the downside? It is on the table, especially after like let's say this kind of a price action that you do have it here. My expectations that if in case this move it's gonna take gold, like let's say for one more leg to the downside, and maybe you're gonna come and to trade like let's say these lows or these lows, I think the move that you're gonna get it from here, it's gonna be the one that you don't want really to miss out on it, because I think 2000 4,300 is an area that you're going to see gold trading toward it. Now, it depends on the open. If I would see something, it depends on how exactly we close the weekly candle. I can tell you it depends on the open really. If we're going to be holding, like, let's say the 4,100 level, if you're going to start holding it and just like you drop under it and then you reclaim, you might run the 4,162 above this. Then I would just like consider that we might see gold trading there toward the 4,300 one more time. If you started just like moving to the upper side and then you lose it and you start facing, like, let's say an issue and the struggle, like let's say to hold or to reclaim the 4,100, then you will be expecting gold to give you a drop again to the 4050, maybe the 3,950. For me, it's not really a topping weekly candle. It's a normal retrace. We've been running for 9 weeks, like let's say to the upper side. Monthly candles looking good. Even with this pullback, I don't really buy the idea of having a topping monthly candle in a price discovery or in an empty space just to have this topping candle and just to rely that, oh, gold topped. Well, in fact, gold doesn't top in such like, let's say, monthly candle. It doesn't top in this monthly candle. It can, as an example, give you this kind of a pullback and then to run, move to the upper side, run, and then after that to roll down, fine. But this, just like for you to do this, it never happened in gold. These kind of candles you will be expecting next month still to see another move to the upper side because it's an efficiency. So the easiest part for them, like let's say to cover these imbalances. That's how we usually like, let's say I do see it. I know a lot of people, maybe they are not convinced in this, but by the end, I do look at the chart and uh, if you just rely on one candle to tell you that we topped, then that's maybe a little bit of a problem. So that's a kind of moves that I do have it on gold. I think if there will be something that you might consider it that it will, as an example, push back to the downside, well, you might see a move to the upper side before going, like, let's say, giving you this drop. This could be like, because it's an FOMC week, we could see something like this on gold. So run toward the 4,300, and then maybe after that, like, let's say, giving you another pullback to these levels, and then we will see what's going to be happening, But again, I'm not seeing really anything bearish on gold to start looking for deeper pullbacks and these just like kind of tops and all these kind of things. I don't really see it. Now, interestingly, ETH, this is again the major area that we had it on ETH marked, I think, from 2 weeks ago. As for now, the more that you hold above the 4,000, it's going to increase the probability that maybe you're going to be looking to trade, like, let's say, the 4,250. It all depends on BTC from here, but there is a good opportunity for ETH. If BTC it's going to run toward the 116 and it's going to run toward the 118, you might see also ETH running, like, let's say, toward higher levels. I think at some stage later on, you might see a pullback. But with this kind of a price action, I know a lot of people that they are looking at ETH relying on, if I'm not mistaken, uh this kind of trend line that you do have it here. If I'm not mistaken, don't know how you're gonna be putting it, but yeah, maybe something like this. that we are holding the trend line and you should just continue to the upper side. To be honest with you, it's one of the most riskiest things that I do consider that you might look at it in this way, because for me, the easiest part to look at ETH is just to consider it that it's just a range. And if I want to identify the ranges, just look at a high time frame. Weekly candles, this is a pullback, but it doesn't mean that it is bearish. I don't see anything like, let's say, as for now, that it's confirming, like, let's say, that it's bearish. Monthly candle also, it's a normal pullback after this kind of a run. Actually, it's looking good. My only problem that here we had, like, let's say, at the bell bottom, but unfortunately, it didn't sweep this candle, and this was the leverage, like, let's say, flush and the liquidation candle that we got it. So for me, this is looking absolutely good. I would prefer at some stage, if BTC, it's gonna sweep the lows, there is still a probability for ETH to come to sweep the lows at these levels. But for now, it's looking absolutely good as long as you are holding, like, let's say, and you are closing a monthly candle above, I think, the 4,000, 3,700, um, 60, 70, something like this, or could be 50, like, let's say, a little bit to lower levels, then you are fine on ETH. The moment that you start losing it and you start closing under it, this is where exactly the problem it's going to start clicking. And you saw in these previous weeks, like, let's say, still you are seeing, like, let's say, buyers demand. Yes, you are not progressing to the upper side, but it's fine. It's just like in some kind of sideways movement after making, like, let's say, such a decent run. It's absolutely fine. Could we see something like, let's say, like this on ETH in the coming few weeks and days? Absolutely. And honestly, I will be still seeing it as a bullish move, as long as you're not closing, as an example, November under this and weekly candle, it's fine, on these kind of moves. So could we see something like this to happen? It's very possible for running the highs. And still, if BTC is going to start running toward higher levels, this could give ETH a decent opportunity to run the highs, just because of how exactly ETH BTC is looking. Speaking of an alt season or not an alt season, I think we are a little bit far away from that to talk about it. There could be some kind of moves that you might see it in November, that this is going to give us like some kind of a confirmation on what could happen. But for now, if I do care about something on ETH BTC, if we started flipping and we started moving, sorry, this was from previous weeks. If we started moving and we started reclaiming these highs, then I think there's a good opportunity for ETH BTC to run these highs, and this is where you're going to start seeing again ETH coming, like, let's say, to run higher levels. Optimal for me at some stage is to take these lows before you're going to start moving to the upper side. Could this still continue the chop a little bit? And for me, this is still looking good, as long as you don't really lose this kind of cluster of consolidation. Things are looking absolutely good. Uh, that's mainly what really I'm looking at it. I don't see really anything, like, let's say, that I can put it for you as a, a bearish structure. One thing that I'm gonna put it for you here, so you can keep an eye on it for how the week could open, which is, it's extremely important to keep an eye on it. For now, we are looking fine as long as we are holding above this level. So we are good. We wouldn't have really an issue, like, let's say, with the move, as long as you are holding above the 12,100, 12,100 or 200 level. So you can still come into the open before running higher. It's very possible. And nothing really, like, let's say, that it's going to make you concerned about this. The moment that you start trading under this within this week, I think the biggest probability is to run toward lower levels and maybe to come to sweep these levels. So this is one line in the sand. I think the moment that you start really losing it, then the highest probability to start running, like, let's say, toward lower levels, maybe to come to take the liquidity from here, maybe also this, or it could be this. As for now, things are looking absolutely fine. There is still a very high probability that you might trade this inefficiency to the upper side, because you already reclaimed the 112,000. Could they give you a pullback in Asia? Pullback in Asia on Monday, it's something really good. Just mark out, like, let's say, how exactly the range or how exactly Asia is going to start. It could be an active Asia session. I would like usually to see, like, let's say, some kind of pullbacks a little bit, and then after that, a continuation and the move to the upper side. It could do the same, But by all means, I will be covering for you fully, like let's say what to expect after we close Asia. I'm not really saying like let's say anything major in altcoins. I'm not going to be covering altcoins for you for now because you're going to align things on what's exactly happening on altcoins, on what's BTC is doing. So Sol above the 194, definitely it's a major level, and there is a high probability to run the 215 as long as BTC is behaving, you know. So that's again major like let's say formation that you do have it on Sol, and also the 3 days time frame. This is the good part that you do have it here, where you're gonna be closing this 3 days candle by tomorrow. So it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So this reclaim on Sol, it's looking absolutely good. If it's going to behave, and BTC, it's going to behave, you might trade the 215. Again, it's level to level above the 215, then the 240 is on the table. But that's a kind of structure that you do have it for here. If BTC by any chance it's going to run the lows, you will be expecting Sol to come and to trade like somewhere at around the 160, 170 level. So the only thing that I'm doing it really is just to rely on what exactly BTC it's gonna do, and that's all. So that's for me, like let's say on this part. I'm gonna be covering also for you tomorrow a potential trade that we might see it, like let's say in on US oil, the same way how exactly we traded it last week. I dropped it for you on Twitter. There is still a very decent probability, like let's say for a potential trade, that we might see an early pullback into the week, and then just like somewhere at around the 60, 59.8. Then after that, a move to the upper side. You need to play it like let's say with extreme cautious. Let's see how the week is going to start, because this trade specifically, I need to cover it for you tomorrow, which I'm going to be doing for you a very quick video for something around like let's say a 10 minutes, that I'm going to post it for you on YouTube, so you can get the plan for this week on what direction you might be trading towards. So that's all from my side, guys. You just let me know if there is any question that you want to ask about it, and if not, then I think that would be I think, yeah, we are good for this one. Just remember, it's the last 6 days, guys, of the month. You might see some nice moves between up and down. My advice to you is just to keep your plan really, like, let's say for 2 to 3 days trade. Like, don't think a lot about, like, let's say swingy trades. I don't think that it's optimal to think about the swings. The best part to get an exposure for it, still, it's going to remain on the daily, or like in an intraday or an intra week. It's even better and better. So that's the whole thing. So, and then we will see what exactly November is going to bring us. That's all for now. I wish you an amazing weekend, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Spend a good time, and we're going to catch up with you by tomorrow. Cheers. Bye bye.